Third BET meeting. First order of business is to rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance. The first item on the agenda is an executive session. Do I hear a motion to move into executive session?
Move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Selps. Moved by
Selps.
Mr. Selps, seconded by Ms. Tarkington. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. The ayes have it. So at 6:32, this will be a brief executive session, I believe. So we will turn off all of our microphones, and we'll be back shortly. Here. So we're at 6:34, and we've just completed the executive session. The next item on the agenda is to vote on the matter that was discussed in executive session. Do I hear a motion?
I would move to approve the settlement of Costas versus Town of Greenwich for the amount of $74,000 as reported by Amina and as approved by the Law Committee.
And I second that motion.
Motion has been made by Mr. Selbst, seconded by Ms. Tarkington. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Brings us to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the assessor's report. Ms. Elliott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the BET. I'd like to present the assessor's report for March 2026. So, Board of Assessment Appeals are finished. They finished their hearings and their deliberations last Friday on the 20th. I will have a final number for you folks tomorrow. I just need to make sure, I just want to review them one more time just to make sure we have all the changes correct. I can tell you this, I don't believe they will exceed the estimated amount that I have on the current grant list of $110 million. I do believe they will come in underneath that, under that. I can give you a couple of statistics from their hearings. They had a total of 912 hearings. They had 760 residential hearings, and they had 152 commercial hearings. Of the 760 residential, they changed 412, and they sustained 280, and we had 68 that were either no-shows or withdrawn. On the commercial side, they truly didn't have to hear a majority of these because there is a statute that allows them to not hear any commercial property that's valued over $1 million, which would be most commercial properties in the town of Greenwich. However, they did hear them. There was a total of 152 commercial appeals. They did send notices out not to hear on 29 of them, and they sustained 105. So basically, they only changed 12 of them. Okay. And that, I'm pretty sure the reduction was roughly about $4.3 million. Okay. We will have anybody who got a do not hear letter that was supposed to be sent out by March 1st. So that timeline to file to the Superior Court started as of March 1st, and they have 2 months. So they have until June 1st to file. We will be sending out the Board of Assessment Appeals notices probably by the end, well, definitely by the end of the month. Hopefully we'll get them out by the end of this week or beginning of next for the Board of Assessment Appeals. They will then have 2 months for the date of the notice to file to Superior Court. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for me this evening?
Sarah, just, you mentioned, so 412 out of 760, so a little over half saw the assessment changed. How does that compare to history?
Okay, I got that. Well, first of all, I'm going to also give you another little statistic. Of the 400, well, of the 760 appeals, residential appeals, we have 315 repeat customers. So these people are, there's people who have filed to the Board of Assessment Appeals in prior years. So it's the same, it's a lot of the same people. So as I was going through them, it's similar properties, same people. Part of that issue is that if the Board of Assessment Appeals reduces it, then they come back, and I've increased their assessment again, I've increased it more than I probably have because of their reduction from the Board of Assessment Appeals. So that's why I think we get a lot of those. In prior grand list years, in 2015, we had 1,005 appeals to the Board of Assessment Appeals. In 2021, we had 658. Do you also remember in 2021, when we did the revaluation, we did not increase commercial valuations very much, so we got very few commercial properties. This year, I can honestly say the tax reps were back. Of the 152 commercial properties, I'd say about half of them were represented by tax representatives. Okay.
Members of the board to Ms. Elliott?
I can also actually give you another little insight as to, of the 760 residential properties, about 260 or so were with valuations between $1 and $2 million, and 138 were between $2 and $3 million. So the majority of people who were coming were basically the lower end valuations of assessed values. Okay.
Anything else in your report that you'd like to highlight?
No, but I will put all of these wonderful numbers together. I will sort them out by district, by property value, by property type, and I will send that off to you hopefully by Wednesday. Okay?
Lovely, and there will be an exam on decision day.
Okay, on the Thursday.
Other questions for Ms. Elliott from members of the board? No, hearing none. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So I move that we
Oh,
accept the
yes,
report.
We need to vote. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept
Thank
the
you. Ms.
assessor's report.
Tarkenton has voted, moved to accept. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pellegrino?
Harry.
Oh, Harry, sorry. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimously accepted. Thank you very much. Moving to the request for budget adjustments. First item is RV2, Register of Voters.
I'll make a motion to appropriate $142,700 to the Registrar of Voters funded by the 2023 Election Excellence Grant.
I will second that.
And for the record, this is an approval to use funds that have been received in the form of a grant. And we have our registrars here. Do you, Fred, Molly, any comments you want to make? Anything you need to present? You don't have to make
quickly,
any.
I don't know. I don't know if we should even speak. We're just well. We have a page of remarks, so we'll give them. So thank you for accommodating us this evening. As you know, we have a calendar which is our frenemy. We have strict deadlines for dealing with rapid fire changes elections are experiencing in Connecticut and perhaps nationally, and then administering this grant that is the equivalent of the 1 year of our operating budget has become a bonus duty. One we are happy to undertake because we are able to bring so much value to our fellow citizens. Before we run through the items, we may not need to run through the items. We do want to tell you this is the fifth and final tranche of spending from the grant accepted by the town in 2023. We wanted to give you a brief summary update on the previous 4 tranches and how we invested that money in our town.
So it was important to us that we be deliberate.
Holly, you need the mic.
Sorry. It was important to us that we be deliberate in the use of what can only be considered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Election Excellence Grant received was almost the size of 1 year of our operating budget. Because the grant funds had no strings attached aside from being used toward elections, we were strategic in identifying projects which could benefit the town on other days besides the election day. Almost 50% of the dollars are going to dual-use projects. They upgraded infrastructure here in Town Hall and in some public schools. The major election-only expenditure was the purchase of 40 new computers to provide real-time turnout data to citizens and candidates on Election Day. We replaced computers which were 10 years old. Projects which serve dual purposes included renovation, including climate control and dewatering of the underground space where we store some voting equipment. This space also has cages in it. I'm having just a little difficulty because I'm having a visual disturbance migraine.
Mary, do you want me to?
I think it might be good.
Sure.
Yeah.
This space also has cages in it for parks and rec equipment, so we added security cameras and electronic badging to monitor access to the space. We made renovations and security upgrades to our office. We created an ADA-friendly front counter, added more badge-based security, and made a second storage area of our office fire-resistant to hold unused ballots. New wiring and networking equipment in Town Hall to accommodate additional computers in this room for early voting or for any other use the town may have for it. And finally, we spent almost $150,000 on ADA projects at Western Middle School and North Street School polling locations. At North Street, the front entrance to the school was modified to have push-button automatic doors, and additional handicap parking was striped, including signage for van access. And Western was particularly important to me and to us because the voting entrance and exits most convenient for voters were not accessible and had been on a registrar wish list to encourage upgrades to this corridor since 2010. Finally, we were able to get this prioritized because we could pay for it. This theme of dual-use spending continues throughout this final request. As part of it, we are funding the research and contributing to electrical work necessary to enhance continuity of operations here in Town Hall during an emergency such as a power outage. In talking with DPW, only the Town Hall meeting room and certain information technology is operational on the generator system. We are looking to expand that to include more areas, as on Election Day we utilize spaces on the ground floor, this floor, and the second floor. So to wrap this up and focus on the specific appropriation, the major items in the appropriation relate to transport containers for election equipment, printing and design for curbside voting, and new language requirements, and the aforementioned electrical work. We're happy to answer any questions, go through it line by line, whatever the board desires.
Thank you so much. Any questions? And for those, the reason we're taking this now and not through the Budget Committee is purely a matter of timing to facilitate this getting to the RTM within the deadline parameters of the grant. So that's the purpose. Otherwise, it would have gone through and it would have been a routine item, but because it's coming here for the first time, we're treating it as non-routine. Having said that, any questions? Mr. Fisher?
Yeah, I'm just curious, where are you going to set up curbside voting? And is that possibly going to interfere with the parties setting up tables in front of Town Hall?
So there's a handicap parking area near where the ballot box is,
Right.
which is away from the 75-foot, leading up to the 75-foot area where candidates set up. And there is a 20-foot radius necessary around the curbside. This is a new legislation around the curbside.
So
voting area.
those won't intersect with where we set up?
In some,
We're trying not to extend that bubble too much or make it so that it's away. We have places, and we have all our GIS maps related to that. We have some schools where we have more concern than others. We haven't finalized any of it, but anybody who wants to come in can certainly give us input related to that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Deschamps?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment, and it is that I just want to thank both of you for the hard work that went into this grant funding. I remember being on the RTM at the time that this was going through approval, and both of you attended many RTM committee meetings and spoke to the full RTM body many times, and you represented our town superbly in a nonpartisan, may I say bipartisan way. And what's the end result of that? Now we sit here, as you just articulated, and have grant funding that benefits taxpayers by a significant amount of money. It increases voter security and ADA accessibility. Thank you both very much for the work that you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none. Do we have the motion? Shall we?
It's already moved.
It's already moved. So we can call the vote. I think we can do this with a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you both for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thank you.
And again, appreciated.
Thank you.
We now move to the routine applications, PW4 and PS1. I think all we need there is a motion to approve. I'll turn to my,
I'm going to let Doug do it. It's on a roll.
I don't know the language. All right.
You want this?
Oh, no. Motion to appropriate $1.025 million, PW4 to Department of Public Works, an additional appropriation to cover costs for snow and ice control, and appropriate $300,000 to PS1 parking services, also to cover costs for snow and ice control.
Did you move that?
I am moving, or I think
Yes.
so. Yes, I have moved that.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Leslie.
motion's been made by Mr. Fenton, seconded by Ms. Tarkington. No discussion is necessary. Given that it's routine, we can do a voice vote as well. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That's unanimous. We have the controller's report, I guess, is next. Ms. Lynch, unless we want to do the EMAC first.
No, let's do this. I'll give.
Okay. Welcome, and thank you.
Good evening. Presenting the Comptroller's Report for the time period from February 23rd, 26 through March 23rd, 2026. The general fund invested cash on February 28th, 2026 was $227 million, about $20.7 million higher than last year. The retirement portfolio snapshot as of February 28th, 2026 had a valuation of $749 million, and the OPEB trust portfolio was valued at $65 million. As you know, we've been working very closely with the Debt and Fund Balance Committee on various scenarios of the funding model for the town's CIP. And everybody will be seeing those scenarios, or you may have, but that's one place that, led by Agnes, our budget director, that we've been spending a lot of time and resources. But we're proud of the product that we have now, and we look forward to sharing it in more detail. The speed camera update. In my comptroller's report, I did put a little bit of the history, just so that it's all tied together for people who had questions. Due to the time lag between the citation processing and the payment collection, the program has been carrying a negative balance with Blue Line Solutions. But on March 16th, the town received their first payment of $1,109, and alongside with the February report. Notably, the daily valid citations dropped by over 50% from 571 per day in January to 277 per day in February, indicating a positive shift in driver behavior. As the cash comes in to Blue Line, that's when we will we'll move further into the black. So for this month of March, I would expect to be receiving a significant amount. I'll keep you posted on that. As you all know, we're in the middle of the budget process. I put some key dates in the report, just kind of following tradition, again, just to have everything in one place. Update on the retirement board. As I mentioned, the portfolio has a balance of $748.7 million as of February 28th, up from $742.7 at January 31. Portfolio had a monthly return of 1.25%, a quarterly return of 3.3%, and a one-year return of 12.15%. Moving into internal audit, the DPW Sewer Division private septic haulers audit was completed and accepted by the audit committee. CLA presented that report at the March audit committee meeting. The overall rating was satisfactory with some minor findings discussed in the final report, which I'm happy to get into if there are any questions. The Board of Education Human Resources audit is well underway. You'll be hearing more about that over the next month or two, and we'll be starting in the next couple of weeks. CLA will be starting with the Information Technology Assessment Review, which we are very much looking forward to. As far as ARPA spending goes, not much changed in the last month, but we've been working closely with the department heads on the applicable amounts that need to be spent. Everybody is well aware of what needs to be spent by December 31, 2026. And one other thing I wanted to mention was that we in finance are currently evaluating the implementation of JP Morgan's strategic payables solution to optimize payment workflows and enhance fraud mitigation. We're really excited about this. It's going to basically reduce our risk and improve our efficiencies. Preliminary meetings have been held with IT so that we can come up with a cross-departmental implementation roadmap, but the initial assessments do indicate that we need some external technical expertise to assist. They will pay for themselves, though. This initiative marks a significant step toward our goal of a fully automated, streamlined accounts payable function. And that's it for the Comptroller's report. Any questions?
Questions for Ms. Lynch? Mr. Olchak?
I just have a quick question. Can you remind me, Ms. Lynch, what proportion of the funds that Blue Line Solutions collects goes to the town?
I was asking the same
Oh,
question.
were you?
So we're charged a processing, well, it's not really processing. We are charged $20 per citation. This first citation you get is $50, the second citation is $75. But either way, the charge to the fee that Blue Line takes is $20. I've done a weighted average because there are quite a few second, believe it or not. The weighted average is about $35 to $36 per citation that comes to us.
Okay. So just, I mean, what's the average citation, 50 or $75 or?
So 50 for your first, and then if you get a second, the same person, it's 75. So that's why it's kind of a weighted average, and there are a surprising number of seconds.
And we get over half. We get over half the.
We get
the
over
money.
half, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Sally, I don't know if you have a follow-up question.
Any other questions?
Yeah, can I just ask a question about the septic audit? In our budget committee meetings, the DPW and the sewage division talked about constraints they had on private septic hauler fees that were tied to, I believe, the town charter. Were those at all addressed or discussed in the audit? Thank you.
So yes, they were discussed. They have not changed in a decade or so, but the reasoning for that is that they're very competitive with the local other facilities, and the need for the product is great because, as they explained in detail, the sewage is important in order to keep the mixture. I mean, some of you probably.
Biodiversity.
There are no chemicals used. It's fascinating. So you need enough product to keep everything running efficiently, and it alters based on rain and other other environmental things going on, so I hope that wasn't too much information.
Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, David. Hi, Joan. Quick question. I guess you had said that for the second offense, back to the speed cameras, for the second offense, the same person, you use the term person, how does the camera distinguish between a person and the car?
So it's the vehicle.
Oh, it's the vehicle.
It's the vehicle.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Greenwich Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a hearing being held virtually on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. This evening, we will have Ms. Jones seated for Mr. Lowe on the rink applications, as Mr. Lowe was on the task force and will be recusing himself. I will announce that later again. We also have some continuations of replacement seating that carried from our previous meeting. With that, the only other announcement that I'd like to make, and I'll make that again before we begin to talk about the rink, the amount of public comment that has come in the last hour and a half, and especially in the last half hour, has been impossible for us to read. So we are planning on leaving the application open tonight, no matter what, because we want to get through every single piece of public comment that has been sent to us. So if you don't see that we've posted your public comment, don't worry about it. We're going to get there. But staff goes home now. Some people stayed late to post some more, but they won't be able to get it posted. So again, I'll explain that when we get to the application, but just don't worry. We are going to see it and we will post it. Okay, with that, any other announcements, Pat?
Yes, just want to put a public service announcement out that commission or most land use boards in the state right now are inundated with fraudulent phishing emails impersonating staff. And I just want to remind everybody on this call, but also if you pass the message along, that invoices that may look like it comes from the department or the town should be taken with a high level of scrutiny. The commission, the planning and zoning department, does not ask for money after the fact. We do not send invoices. We do not request for payment. You check the email extensions. Emails always from the town are going to come from greenwichct.gov or .org. If it has another extension or any additional letters in that extension, it is likely not real. And if you have any questions, you can call the department, but please do not reply to any of those emails.
And I have been a member since its inauguration. I became the chair about 6 months into the first year of service and have had that role ever since, and have the honor of writing and presenting this annual report every year now. So, the headline is that, in part, EMAC was a creation of the first selectman, Mr. Camillo, who had set out a campaign goal of reducing energy consumption and costs by 20 to 40% over the course of the decade or the course of his terms. Sadly, we're not really anywhere near that. Costs are essentially, consumption is essentially flat and costs are up substantially. So let's take a look. Just as a reminder, energy consumption is roughly evenly split between the school system and all other municipal departments. And when I say municipal, you can see the list here. You've got fleet department, which is fuel only, in the way I account for it here. Sewer department, public safety, Nathaniel Witherell, public works, parks and rec, and the public libraries all line up against basically Greenwich High School and the other public schools. You can see Greenwich High School here is 20% of total town municipal school energy consumption. In terms of costs, we went up 15% last year over year, and when I say year over year, I'm talking about fiscal. So this is fiscal 25. This is the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. $9.2 million versus $8 million in fiscal 2024. And you can see again, so Greenwich High School, other public schools are, pushing $4 million of our total energy costs of $9.2 million in the last fiscal year. Yeah, consumption is up, costs are up even more. So we're kind of unfortunately going back to where we were in terms of energy consumption. We had been on a slight downturn from 2022 to 2024, in part aided by warmer winters. 2025 was a slightly colder winter than the prior years. But ultimately, the real culprit here is costs. Electricity costs have risen significantly, and gas costs have also risen over these last 5 years. Greenhouse gas emissions are essentially, business as usual. Electricity cost versus usage. On the left, you've got the amount of money we're spending on electricity, and on the right, you can see the kilowatt hours that are being consumed. Everything is trending up. I mean, in general, the move to electrification, I think, is good from an emissions point of view, certainly, and an efficiency point of view. Electric appliances, especially heat pumps, for example, are much more energy efficient than conventional boilers and furnaces. Gas costs are volatile. What happens, of course, as you all know, when you have a cold winter, not only do you use more gas, but it costs more. It's simply a supply and demand component to that. So, and they're volatile. We remember back to 2022 when we had the spikes in part caused by the Ukraine war. But also we had some cold winters that put a lot of pressure on gas prices. And gas is residential and commercial heating uses are prioritized over electricity generation. So that kind of compounds the problem for cold winters when you have a constraint in the gas supply, and it goes to consumers of heating and not to electricity generation. So anyway, it's volatile. This is just basically showing you that electricity consumption is essentially flat in terms of MMBTUs to put them on equal basis. And gas, again, is a reflection really of the cold or warmth of the winter. You can see that here. 2021, 2022 were colder than the 5-year average temperature, winter temperature. 2023 and 2024 were warmer winters, and then 2025 was a bit of a reversion to the norm. And again, I've said this before, costs are rising, so we're spending more. Here's electricity costs and kilowatt hours. Again, the backdrop, of course, is AI and electrification, which is putting it's pushing costs up, as we know. And again, gas costs they reflect the supply and demand, and so does our usage. This is just I took a look at the average public school in town, their Energy Star score. Again, an Energy Star score reflects where a building would fall relative to its peers in its comparable type building in comparable climate zones. And you can see that our average school scores a 43, so that's essentially they're at the 43rd percentile. So they're below average relative to their peer buildings, which I think is pertinent because I think that there are certainly opportunities to take a look at some of these school buildings and improve them. And if you think that's just a distinction between old and new, it is in part. But if you take a close look here, you'll see that some of the best performing schools are our oldest schools, and our worst performing schools are our newest schools. In part, that reflects, well, it reflects a couple of things, and I don't want to speculate too much on why our newest schools are not good performers. But the truth is that some of the older schools are simply not air conditioned, and so they don't, by nature, use a lot of electricity. This is just taking a look at fleet department fuel gallons and costs. They've been pretty flat. There was an increase over the last year, in part driven by more vehicles and in part driven by increase in fuel costs. This is just to take a look at energy consumption. This is all in the supplemental information on our website, and you probably received it earlier, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. And again, here's the look at it in dollars by division. I will leave you with some of the recommendations that we put into our study. Number one is that we encourage and again, these are the generic EMAC recommendations. These are not specific recommendations for the BET. But we do recommend that the RTM, the RTM codify the 2014 SOMR, which basically said that it is the sense of the RTM that all municipal buildings and school buildings built in Greenwich should be energy efficient. And we agree, but as a SOMR, it doesn't carry a lot of weight. And so our recommendation to the RTM is that they codify that. I think probably the most significant recommendation that we have this year is our recommendation that we establish a permanent professional standing building committee. This is the model that they use in Stanford. We think that it can overcome a number of the flaws and limitations of the current system of appointing ad hoc committees for everything. You get more consistency, you get economies of scale, you make it easier for staff being the Greenwich school staff, Greenwich municipal staff, to have greater control of what actually happens with the buildings that they are going to own and manage, rather than what I see as a disenfranchisement between GPS and the BOE and the building committees, and to some extent also slight disenfranchisement between some of the building committees that were set up for some of the municipal buildings and the BCNM, DPW, OFS, although those are not as glaring, those distinctions. And happy to take questions at any point. We also, and again, this is not a recommendation in the BET, this is really a recommendation to GPS or to the Board of Ed, that they incorporate the recommended building ed specs that we have in the EMAC annual report into all future ed specs for each and all of the building committees, to the extent that they continue with the ad hoc building committee model. You know, my frustration when I was liaison to the Old Greenwich School Committee, and their frustration as well, was that the choice to not pursue energy efficiency measures, new windows, tightening the envelope, were essentially not pursued because that mandate was not in the ed specs. And so it essentially tied the hands of the committee to not do what we think makes sense in terms of having a more efficient building that will reduce long-run operating costs. Hiring an energy manager for the town, I think, would go a long way toward addressing many of these issues, at least bringing them to the point where they could be prosecuted. I'm merely an energy reporter. I'm not an energy manager. And I don't know that, my findings are widely shared in town. An energy manager would certainly take that directly to each of the divisions and work with them to understand what they're doing, understand what it's costing them, and take measures to either mitigate or improve the status of their buildings, the performance of their buildings.
Peter,
And the last is just a
go ahead, finish the last.
Yeah, the last point is merely that it should be standing practice to retain a commissioning agent for any building project. Hamilton Avenue did not have a commissioning agent, neither did New Lebanon School. So I think that's there's a simple fix there. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for bringing us all up to date on the work of EMAC. I do have one question, and then see if any others here do. 20% of the energy cost for the town, I think you said, is due to the Greenwich High School. Are there any concrete thoughts, ideas, appropriations that could be considered whereby we would, as a town, save money on that one facility?
We haven't studied it. You're correct. We should. Stephen Winters Associates actually proposed a phase 3 audit for that building going back about 5 years ago. But the town or GPS, I should say, didn't take them up on the offer. I guess they didn't want to spend the money. But I think that if you want to take a look at Greenwich High School, you really need to do an audit. Start with an audit. It does not perform well. It is an old building. There are a lot of disparate systems. It is an old envelope. As I said, it's an old building. I think that we could save a lot of money there by pursuing various and sundry energy efficiency initiatives, but it hasn't been looked at. It hasn't been a priority that I'm aware of.
Questions from members of the board? Mr. Olchek.
Peter, thank you for that very thorough report. I have two questions for you. First, if I read your charts correctly, I believe the town is paying just over 22.5 cents a kilowatt hour. Is that right?
That's correct.
So, and everybody knows that Connecticut is one of the highest electric rates states in the country. I think we're second after Rhode Island, or maybe Hawaii. We're right up there at the top. So, what can we do to? Well, first, I guess I should ask: do we have any contracts? Has the town negotiated any contracts with someone like Constellation, where we buy a chunk of energy over a certain period of time at a lower price per kilowatt hour? Because I know that's 22.5 plus is a retail kind of rate. That's not an institutional rate. So that seems very high. It seems like we're paying like a retail customer would pay.
It's an excellent question. I will tell you exactly. Our town purchasing manager does an excellent job at buying for electricity. One of the reasons that you see the big increase in electricity costs in fiscal 23 was the fact that our contract at the time was priced 40% higher than the previous contract. We had a contract in place from late 2018 until the end of 2022 at 7.67 cents per kilowatt hour. That's a supply rate. We're essentially unprotected on the distribution side. We basically have to pay what Eversource charges us for the local distribution. And that's not something that you can hedge away. The 2023 contract was at 10.75 cents. The subsequent contract was at 9.9 cents. And our current contract that runs, we're under that contract at 9.9 cents. And again, that's a supply rate. We also pay on top of that the distribution charges. So 9.9 cents is actually a pretty good price. I haven't looked at Eversource's standard rate, but they're not too far off. The standard rate, though, does swing or can swing quite a bit every 6 months. So it is, I think, prudent for the town to lock in these rates under multi-year contracts. So right now, we're paying 9.9 cents supply rate through the end of this year. At the end of this year through the end of 2029, it ticks up very slightly to 10 cents a kilowatt hour.
Thank you. Ms. Tarkington?
Yes, in terms of you talked about Eversource. In terms of these costs of electricity in recent times, how much of that do you attribute to the surcharge that's being placed on all of us, whether we're residents or the town of Greenwich, in terms of those numbers? Because I know it's well over, say, $1 million. Can you just tell us in terms of that increase, if you backed out the surcharge, what would the increase in electricity costs be?
I think the surcharge only lasted for 10 months and it burned off.
I think we still
last
are,
year
no, I
sometime.
think we're still paying some.
You may be correct. I do not know. I do not actually see the bills. We use Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which automatically pulls the entries from Eversource and from Connecticut Natural Gas. So I don't see the bills. There are hundreds of bills. So I couldn't tell you what that surcharge is. But again, it's something everyone pays. So
Other questions?
if I could, though, Elliot, I'm sorry, Mr. Alchek, you did ask the question, what could we do about it? One thing that we could do about the cost of electricity is to make it ourselves. And so we're hoping very soon to have green skies going up on the roof of the Eastern Greenwich Civic Center. And then next year we'll get hopefully a solar system on the Central Middle School. And I think that hopefully I can work with GPS to expand on the New Lebanon solar system, and at some point in the near future replace the failed system at the Glenville School.
Thank you.
Mr. Fenton?
Yes. First of all, Peter, thank you so much for both this report and the work of you and your committee and for volunteering all the time to this. My question, you mentioned it a bit on the buildings Energy Star scores. What popped out to me was that New Lebanon School, which is our most recently built school, also has our lowest Energy Star score. And I guess what action should the Board of Ed or the town be taking to ensure that something has not gone awry there in the way that's done? Because I would imagine that was not the way it was constructed or planned. Thank you.
I would concur. What I would recommend and what we did recommend in our recommendations to the Board of Ed and Greenwich Public School Systems is to retro commission that school building. They did not have, as I mentioned, they did not have a commissioning agent when they went through the building process. And I think that a retro commissioning would essentially go back and take a look and say, are the sensors in place? Is the building management system doing what it's supposed to do? Are the facilities managers following the protocols, the settings, the set points? Is it essentially being run in the way that it was meant to be run? And were the systems installed in accordance with the original designs?
And just to follow up on that, given we will soon have our newest new school, do we have a commissioning agent for Central Middle School?
We do. I forget their names, but we do, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Erickson?
Yes, thank you, Peter. I would just ask that if you have some examples of best practices from other communities, whether it be the town energy manager position or high school audits that have resulted in demonstrative savings, that you could share those comps with us. I think that's always very helpful. And secondly, I would ask that we elevate this somewhat. It's on our agenda, but I think we should provide links to these, both the annual report and the supplemental information, which I know are available on the website. You do have to dig around a little bit for it, but I think we should include it as part of our agenda, just so it's more readily available.
I think that's a brilliant idea. Can we add the hyperlink for our agenda to the EMAC annual report? Agnes does everything. Agnes nodded, but it's really Leo that does everything. We all know that. Other questions? Seeing none.
Let me go.
Matt.
Well, as the EMAC liaison for the BET for the last 2 years or so, and having served on the RTM in the same capacity, I want to thank you and all the volunteers who do this hard work. I've read your annual report every year I've been involved, and you do an exceptional job at highlighting, the successes we've had as a town and also the work we have left to do. I would just mention a few things. One is, I will say, energy costs are going up. That is not a disputable fact. And the 15% increase of 8 million to 9.2 as a financial steward of the town certainly catches my attention, and I'm sure it does of all my colleagues here as well, many of whom have served on EMAC with me over the years. And so I appreciate the fact that we've made this part of our agenda this evening and given you time to explain these issues to us. I was wondering also, given the fact that the Greenwich Public Schools, largely defined, is the largest consumer of energy in the town, if it would not make sense for you to give a similar presentation to the Board of Education. I have not seen a consistent application of these issues to the ed specs since I've been involved, and I think it's important that you share this information with them in whatever way you and the Office of First Selectman think is appropriate. It's important to align these concerns across the municipality, and that includes the library system as well. So as I've been serving in this role, it seems the energy manager, as you mentioned in your recommendations, is a critical role in that it is would be a position that would be a paid position in the town as opposed to the volunteer positions we have now, but could be that bridge between the library systems, the school systems, and the municipalities, and also the expertise that's required for geothermal, for solar. Great work done at Cohen. Thank you for that, by the way. 24 cent per kilowatt hour reduced to 0.067, largely on the work that you have done and working with the town on that. Is that a position that I'm right in thinking about could really be a bridge in getting some of these things done that are in your report to execution? So we have, in-house expertise, so to speak, that could help bridge all of that together. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, yes, I think so. There's no one person who is paying attention to this. Obviously, EMAC is paying attention to this, but EMAC is paying attention to this on, a part-time basis without any real, I won't say that we don't have buy-in, but we don't have universal acceptance, if you will, from GPS and from the municipal departments and from the larger audience. I have no insight at all into what the Nathaniel Witherell does, and they're one of our big energy consumers. So I think having somebody who talks to all the different divisions and reports back to OFS or to GPS and says, hey, this is what I'm seeing. I think that corrective actions are in order. I think that we can, do things better. As I said, I'm an energy reporter, not an energy manager, but you have to understand what you're doing and look at it and think about it in order to actually manage it. When I first started compiling this data, I went to the libraries and asked them for their, utility bills, and they wondered why. They had never looked at them themselves. And so again, education is the first step towards in furtherance of management and stewardship.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for coming here this evening via video. We appreciate it. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which are the standing committee reports. The only one that's checked is the debt and Fund Balance Policy Committee.
Would you like me to give a brief report?
Please.
Thank you. Well, we have made a lot of progress in a very short period of time. We've heard extensively from Agnes and Joan on both the model as well as closing out open capital. I just want to add on to what Joan mentioned earlier, that they have done an enormous amount of work. We're very appreciative of all the hours that you've spent on both the model as well as open capital. So just a word of thanks for all your efforts once again. We've also heard from the primary department heads on their 10-year capital plans. We've heard from RTM chairs with feedback from their respective committees on what's important to them, et cetera. The committee, through Agnes and Joan, are now actively working on running several scenarios utilizing, as Joan likes to say, the main levers or tools we have in the toolbox, which are cutting capital projects, raising the capital tax levy, and extending the maturity on debt issuance. And we're analyzing a variety of scenarios right now. Our next meeting is April 8th. At April 8th, we are going to also be interviewing the town's financial advisor, Bill Lindsay, on his input, seeking his input on all of these issues. So we hope, Joe and I hope you can join us on April 8th.
Thank you, Elliot. That takes us to the BAT liaison reports. I don't see anything. Oh, Joe, did you want to?
I want to say that was an excellent report by Elliot. I want to say that. No, it's an excellent report.
Definitely, I want you to.
I do. I just want to say one thing, is I think it was an oversight. I agree totally with the tools that we have, but you said cutting projects. They could also be postponed for any natural cause or reason. That's all. But that was an excellent overview of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. Which brings us to the liaison reports, which I don't think there are any. On the BET Special Project Team reports, Mr. Selps wanted to give a very quick verbal update on Old Granite School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As this board will recall, earlier this year, it approved the final interim appropriation of approximately $7.8 million for the Old Greenwich School project, which was subsequently also approved by the RTM at a special meeting in late February. I'm very pleased to announce that the Old Greenwich School Building Committee has entered into a GMP, a Guaranteed Maximum Price contract, with Downs Construction, so that negotiation was concluded successfully. The building committee has received final building department approval for the building permit for the construction project. Downs has issued the notice to proceed to subcontractors, which is formal notification to the subs that the project is going to be starting in the near future. And in fact, construction is scheduled to start on time in accordance with the schedule that James Waters announced to this board, and that construction will start the first week in April. So it's a rare bit of completely good news from the Old Greenwich School Building Committee, and I'm sure that news gratifies all members of this board.
Thank you so much. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, we have the internal audit report, the DPW sewer, which Ms. Lynch referenced. Any other? I think we need to take a vote to accept it.
Yeah, as was reported previously by the comptroller, the audit committee approved 400 the 2024-25 Department of Public Works septic haulers audit report. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2024-25 Department of Public Works septic.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you.
Motion is made by Mr. Deschamps, and it's seconded by Mr. Brown. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. 12-0. Thank you so much. Now there's a request We have our distinguished chair of the Retirement Board with us. Please come forward, and we need, I think, to move the item, which is a request by the Retirement Board regarding the amendment to the Town Code, Article 14, Section 197A3. Do we have a motion?
I will,
Motion's been made by Ms. Tarkington,
I'll second that.
Second it.
seconded by Mr. Pellegrino.
So may I just provide a little bit of context for this?
Please.
You just need to use your mic.
There we go. As you know, the Retirement Board is responsible for the care and maintenance of Article 14 of the town charter, which governs the functioning of the retirement system and the governance of it. So we have, as a retirement board, discussed and approved a slight amendment to the selection of the participant representatives on the board. It's a 5-member board, 2 citizen reps, of which I'm one. The town controller is an ex officio member, and then the participants have 2 representatives. So the current charter says to be a member of the board representing the participants, you must be a member of the system, which is defined in the charter as an active employee who is covered by the plan. And we've reached a situation now where, since the plan has been closed, the last unit was the firemen. That was the last one to close. Most most bargaining units and M&C were closed in 2005 to 2010. So there's a dwindling number of members. So it was proposed by one of the member representatives that we expand the eligibility for membership on the board, and also expand the eligibility to vote. So the proposal that you have before you, and there's a red line version and a clean version. Basically, it expands the eligibility to be on the board representing the plan participants from just the existing members, that is active town employees covered by the plan, to also include retirees, so former members who are now receiving benefits, and term vested people. So former employees with a vested benefit who will be eligible in the future for a benefit under the plan, with the proviso that they left employment in good standing. So that's the main part. We've also thought about the future. What if we get nobody coming forward to put themselves, forward for the board? And this has been prompted by the fact that the police union and fire union basically have to scrounge around to find somebody who's willing to serve on the board. And we're coming to the end of people who are willing to do that. So, but what if even with the expanded group, we can't find anybody? So we've put in a contingency for the appointment of the member reps in the event that no one puts himself forward or herself forward for election by the members. So anyway, that's the gist of it. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Questions for Mr. Wasik? Hearing none. Mr. Selps?
So I just want to say, this has been on the agenda for some time, and this was reviewed last year by the Law Committee prior to this term, but earlier this year, the Law Committee looked at this language that was put together by the Retirement Board and by the Law Department and voted 2-0 to approve and recommend this to the full committee, to the full board.
Indeed. Do you expect, at any point, is it really realistic to think that the labor negotiating, the labor unions would actually play a role, or is that very hypothetical?
It's just a contingency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Ms. Erickson?
I'm sure you had help with the law department, but it took me a little while to work through some of this language, getting 2 representatives from 3 different groups. I think I followed it correctly, but just to continue the hypothetical, if you can't find representatives in the system or the collecting bargaining units, is it a possibility that it could just be a all-citizen board? I mean, what's the benefit of having what's the case that you make to bargaining units that you want somebody on the retirement board?
Well, so the contingency, let me talk about that a little bit. The first thing that happens, there's nobody who puts himself or herself forward for an election. So we can't have an election because nobody has come forward. Then we go to the largest, the bargaining unit that has the largest number of participants. That is active members, retirees, or term vested. And allow them to make the appointment, whatever the rules are of the union. They get to choose one within a certain number of days. If they fail, it goes to the next biggest. So we go down through, how many bargaining units do we have? 7 bargaining units. And if all of them say, no, we're not interested, or we can't find anybody, then we send it to a ad hoc committee comprising the fire chief, the police chief, and the controller. And they make the appointment from one of those, a member of the 3 groups, or a current town employee. So the current town employee might not be covered by the plan. So at that point, presumably, that the fire chief, police chief, and the controller can find some town employee who would be willing to be on the board.
And that language is in here? I'm sorry, I
Yes.
missed
Oh, yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's actually the longer of the 2 paragraphs, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
About
just
the
didn't
if
see the
no
current
eligible
town
person.
employee. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see this, but
I'm not seeing a current town employee would be the next thing after you go through the 7 units, but.
Well, okay, let me just read. In the red line version, if no eligible person is nominated, the 2 collective bargaining units with the largest number of currently or previously affiliated persons in groups 1 to 3 may each appoint 1 board member. Now, we expect to have 1 vacancy at a time, but there are 2 members, so that's why the reference to 2. Subject to the requirement that he be a member of one of those groups or a current full-time employee of the town.
compliments. In addition to your financial acumen, now you get a law degree for putting all this together, so we appreciate it. I guess we should take a vote on this. The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of accepting this new language signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Mike, you got a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much.
That is a good job, very good. That brings us to the approval of the minutes from the February 24th, 2026 meeting. Do we hear a motion for that?
So moved.
Let's get, Ms. Erickson is motioning to approve the minutes. Do I?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Olczak. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. That brings us to the chair's report. Very brief report. I would like to remind the committee and those listening in that we have Decision Day. Well, first, we have our hearing on March 26th, public hearing. People can participate either in person or via Zoom. The Zoom sign-up sheet is the day before the meeting so that we can organize ourselves appropriately. If you come to the meeting in person, then you simply fill out the sign-up sheet in person when you're here in Town Hall. The meeting will be in the Town Hall meeting room. We look forward to a lively and well-attended hearing. On March 31st is our decision day. We hope to we have 2 days allocated. We sincerely expect and hope to conclude our work within the first day. Some of us have evening appointments, so we're hoping to get it done efficiently within the first day. And this year, I believe for the first time since I've been on this committee, we will be posting the suggested amendments on the website, on the BET website, prior to the decision day or the day of the decision day at the latest, so that the public can follow along and see what the amendments are. We're hoping to organize among ourselves draft amendments earlier, as we've indicated via email that I sent out previously. Those are the remarks I'd like to make.
Just a correction. Speakers could sign up to noon on the day of.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm corrected. On the Zoom speakers, the Zoom attendees can sign up to 12 noon of the day of the hearing itself, which is not the day before, but 12 noon of the day of the hearing itself, which is March 26th. With that correction in hand, do we hear a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
RTM committee assignments, district committee assignments.
Well, we do, thank you. We do, as is the practice, have to, I have to circulate among the members of the committee dates that we can attend the RTM meetings in April and May. The RTM will vote on the budget in May, but as in the past, we're hoping to allocate among ourselves through a sign-up sheet online those days that we can attend both the district meetings and the committee meetings, so that we attend in both months so that we can answer any questions members of the RTM may have as to the budget that we will be approving on the 31st. With that, I now ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brown and seconded by Ms. Bednar. All those in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. And we are done. Thank you so much.